President Donald Trump is on his tour of Asia and he's putting on a show every step of the way. Here he is dancing with the US Navy in Japan. Joining us now is filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, great to see you in Sydney.
It's so nice to be here in person. Lovely.
Isn't it great seeing Donald Trump? He just loves getting out those dance moves. You'd almost be disappointed if he's visiting your area and then he doesn't bring them out. But he met with Japan's newly elected Prime Minister and she couldn't contain her excitement being around Donald Trump. Here she is appearing to jump for joy.
I have to say this, the first female Prime Minister in the history of Japan. Madam Prime Minister, please say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all.
The leaders signed documents declaring a golden age of the US-Japan alliance, including affirming a trade deal, lowering tariffs on Japanese goods to 15%, and pledging cooperation on rare earth and critical minerals. Now, Japan's Prime Minister informed Donald Trump that she will be nominating him for next year's Nobel Peace Prize, joining a growing list of world leaders. And now Donald Trump has, of course, vowed to be America first. He's been criticised for what he's been doing with tariffs. But he's also really kind of strengthening ties with allies around the world. And you can see other leaders falling right into line and looking at right-leaning leaders like Japan's newly elected Prime Minister, Argentina's president. Are they learning from Donald Trump?
Oh, no question about it, right? I mean, first of all, I love the fact that they were late to this press conference because they were watching the World Series together, right? By like Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. But yeah, look, there's by the way, he loves the fact whenever leaders say we're nominating you for the Nobel Peace Prize, obviously, and he deserves it. Look what he's doing. Look, he's pivoted. This pivot to Asia is so interesting and so smart, right? Like, yes, we of course had the Ukraine issue, the Gaza-Israel issue, but what we need to do is contain China, and he's working around China's periphery, right? Creating and strengthening the allies, and Japan's a perfect example of that. They cut a minerals deal, which of course is, under the radar, low key. He's been doing this all over the world, making sure that, again, he blunts China's ability to chokehold the world on these rare earth minerals. He was just in Cambodia and Thailand, right? Do you know that they've been at war for 100 years? Gabriella, 100 years, they now have peace.
It's incredible.
He was incredible.
And
Malaysia,
and it gets
Indonesia.
news coverage for a day because he's doing so much right around the world. It's like another peace deal. People on CNN even dismiss them.
A day is overstated. Maybe a few minutes of airtime on CNN, maybe. Yeah, and he's doing this around the world. And you mentioned Milei, my spirit animal. I mean, yes, and look what's happening in Argentina. There's a miracle happening in Argentina right now where they have growth year over year over 6% because he is finally putting into place these capitalist free market infrastructures that South America has not had for decades, right? And what are they going to be a model for the rest of the region, saying, here's what you need to do economically. You will no longer be dependent on the US, China, and other places.
Now let's talk about New York City. We're less than a week away from New York City's mayoral election, and Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani remains in the lead despite a majority of voters apparently not convinced by some of his campaign policies. No wonder why. But this new poll by the Manhattan Institute found that Mamdani is leading with 43% of likely votes, beating Cuomo's 28% and Curtis Lewa's 19%. To recap, of course, on his policies, he wants free buses, he wants city-run groceries, he wants rent freezes, he wants to raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour. Can I please get all your thoughts?
Where do I start? Okay, first of all, I am now a New York refugee. I think I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to ask for asylum if he wins and not go back. A lot of things. Okay, first of all, and the list you mentioned didn't talk about the social. He has said that he wants to get rid of prisons.
Yeah.
Get rid of prisons, right? He talked about, I saw a clip I never even heard before. I thought I heard them all. He was talking about how the quote was that when the NYPD boot is on your neck, it's laced by Israel. I mean, sick anti-Semitic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to have a housing. There's a housing crisis, affordability. There is. That's true, and he's going to solve it. That is, I guarantee that, because everyone's going to leave, and all his apartments open for rent. All the prices will come down. And I'll say, look, I'll tell you this about Curtis Lewa, and you mentioned the 19%, which sounds a bit high to me. I know it's the Manhattan Institute. Otherwise, people have him around 9 to 10%.
Right.
Look, you want my view? Look, I like Curtis. I've met him a whole bunch of times. I think he's staying in for a particular reason. I think he wants Mamdani to win. I think he wants Mamdani to win, and he becomes relevant again, which he didn't have during Bloomberg, unfortunately. And I think the more problems New York has, the more he feels there'll be a need for Curtis Lewa. It's unfortunate, but I really think that's the only reason why he would stay. If he leaves the race, polls show Mamdani will lose and Cuomo will win.
Well, could lose.
Could lose, right? But the Democratic mainstream who are endorsing them, I mean, just sit on the sidelines and abstain. But Governor Hochul, who's by most measures relatively for the Democrats, right, center, left, full-throated endorsement of this communist Marxist Mamdani. It's crazy that the Democrats are staying silent or positive on this guy.
Yeah,
it's the state of affairs in the
know.
Democratic Party.
And as you say, you've been watching a lot of clips. There's clips nearly every day of previous things that he's said, just so far left. We know he's previously called to defund the police. Anyway, a few days to go now, less than a week until those elections are held. But let's talk about Gavin Newsom, California governor. And of course, he confirmed over the weekend that he's considering running for president, which is obvious. He's, he goes on as many podcasts as he possibly can, as well as running his own. He's already up to more than 40 podcasts that he's recorded in the space of a year. So he's spending a lot of time on that. He's now appeared on the All Smoke podcast, where he debuted a new accent and also claimed that his family was hustling to pay the bills. Look at this.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Are you talking about me?
Yo, YG.
YG, man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms fall
yourself.
off. That's it, whole thing. So just, and then.
Is the fakest thing I have ever seen.
Shades of Hillary Clinton, right? Pulling out the Tabasco sauce, her black scent. She wants her black scent back. He's so transparent, right? I'm thinking about running. Please, please.
Considering,
yeah, okay. This is all you worked for your entire life. Look, the truth is, I know we make fun of him a lot. I know California is a disaster under his reign, right? And also, don't forget, he was in charge of San Francisco, dystopian under his leadership. Don't sleep on him. He's really good, and I'll give him credit. He goes on a lot of shows. Like, he's been on Hannity, right? He goes on a lot of shows. Adam Carolla. He goes on a lot of shows where he knows it's a hostile audience. He's very good at cosplaying as president. Right, and as a moderate, he's really good at it, and like right there, like he's trying to connect with the people that he's talking to. We laugh at it, but I'm telling you, it does have in every single poll, he is 1 or 2. Right, it's Kamala Harris and him. I think Kamala will probably end up fading away, and I think it'll probably be him and AOC. Frankly, is my guess. But no, he'll be a real force if you to win the nomination, and B, he will not be so easy to get rid of. I'm warning people now. I know people are laughing at him for good reason, but he's actually pretty good at this.
I'm not sure about that accent, though, claiming that he was hustling. I mean, this is kind of like what Kamala Harris was doing throughout the election campaign last year. Whenever you'd see her pop up, she would put on a different accent, and then she doesn't realise that people are getting their information
You're hustling
online.
For food? His father was a major lawyer at a major oil company.
Yeah, he's rewriting history.
Please.
Yeah, but with the accents, I mean, people are getting so much of their news online, they can quickly go back and see that they're putting on a different accent. But he's bitter about the podcasters, I should say, that won't have him on. He's now in this war with Joe Rogan, and he's really bitter that Joe Rogan's not going to have him on. Take a look.
He wanted, look, he hasn't, for years and years, he's been attacking me, and it's one way, and he won't have me on. He's consistently not having me on. By the way, I'm moving on. I have no interest.
You're done with him?
Joe Rogan's the Facebook of podcasting. He was sitting across one of the brightest minds in podcasting right now. The guy was in the mic. And there are a lot of people at the mic doing extraordinary things in podcasting.
Joe Rogan's got a pretty big audience still, though.
You know what? But with all due respect, if he has a big audience but he doesn't have big enough confidence, I didn't go there, to have me on.
Well, you've called him a chicken.
But he's been attacking for. But here's the thing: these guys, they all have something in common. It's one way. They attack, they belittle, they demean, they take things out of context. But this is a serious thing.
Not sure if that's the best way to then get an invitation to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Who complains about not going on a show, right? I mean, that's just such a weird way. And he keeps pushing this, right? And you look more and more pathetic the more you're like, oh, he wouldn't have me on the show. Wow.
Crying on CNN about it.
And I actually like that CNN was pushing. That guy was
100%.
pushing back.
Well, he's
got a huge audience.
Because Gavin Newsom trying to pretend that Joe Rogan's old news. He's like, no, he's a king of podcasting.
Dude, he's super relevant. I would love to be Joe Rogan to have his audience. Who are we kidding here?
I also respect Joe Rogan that he's like, it's my show. I'll decide if you want to come on or not. It's not up to Gavin Newsom to demand his way onto every single podcast. We've heard enough of him. Now, Joe Biden, he's back speaking again, and he's insisting that the US is facing dark days. He made these comments during a ceremony where he was honoured with a Lifetime Achievement Award for inspired leadership from the Edward M. Kennedy Institute. So Joe Biden said, friends, I can't sugarcoat any of this. These are dark days. And he went on to say that our democracy is at stake, in my view. I'm not sure if we've heard that one before. He went on to say that America is more powerful than any dictator. I mean, Army, when's he going to come up with some new material?
What a new and refreshing take on Donald Trump. Leave it to Joe Biden to come up with something different. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, dark days. Inflation is gone in America. Illegal immigration has been wiped out into America. Yeah, those are pretty dark days, right? The economy is looking up. It's just, first of all, if I'm Joe Biden and I'm his family, keep him like a mushroom. Just keep him in the. What are you doing? All you're doing is embarrassing and I would say tarnishing his legacy, but I think he did a pretty good job as president doing that. It's so trite and it's so obvious and there's nothing new to it. And now we understand why he had to step down.
Yeah.
Talk about difference in relevance. Joe Biden, Joe Rogan.
I know.
There's a little bit of an imbalance there.
Well, he was irrelevant while he was president. Now he's even more irrelevant. To the US forces have killed 14 people in strikes carried out on 4 alleged drug boats in the Pacific. So it's the latest operation in Trump's campaign to target drug trafficking. At least 57 people have been killed in these strikes as, of course, tensions rise between US and Venezuelan governments. Army, it's pretty extraordinary. You know, I think the first hearing about this news, however long ago it was, and now another strike, another 14 people killed. I mean, I'm supporting Donald Trump for protecting America and keeping drug traffickers away from the country, but it's a pretty extraordinary use of power.
Look, I have always said, over and over again, I am against the increased executive power that we've seen over the decades. It hasn't just been Trump. It also was under Joe Biden. It was under Obama. But this is a little bit different because the foreign policy is truly within the sphere of the presidency, right? So I don't have an issue with that. And look, the extraordinary thing to me is the Democrats are attacking him for this, okay? You know, I got a suggestion. If you're a drug dealer and you don't want to be blown up, don't bring drugs to America. I don't know, crazy idea. Just don't do it and you're not going to find yourself dead in the ocean, right? Okay, piece of advice to all the drug dealers out there, free advice. But this is more than just, look, first of all, it's a massive problem for the United States, right? The drug problem, the fentanyl problem is out of control in the United States. So that's one area on why this has to be done. The second is, this is more than just tactical, this is strategic. This is China, Venezuela, our enemies, trying to flood our markets with these dangerous drugs as a weapon, as a soft war against us. And that's what he's doing. He's prosecuting essentially a soft war. And the Venezuelan government is part of this process. They're not just, these drug dealers are not just finding their way secretly on the coast of Venezuela and moving across the border. This is the outward support of Maduro and the Venezuelan government and his military and everything involved in the structures of governance to make sure that these drugs are being sent to our shores. So I applaud him for it. But the shocking thing to me, the Democrats are not standing with us, except, of course, John Fetterman. I shine this guy so much. I should be cleaning shoes in the streets of Broadway. Okay, I'm sorry, but and by the way, he votes not regularly with Donald Trump, but when the things are obvious to him, I appreciate the fact that he stands up for it, and for that, the Democrats are trying to primary him and get rid of a reasonable Democrat in the Senate.
Finally, JD Vance insists that the ceasefire is holding in Gaza despite the recent attacks. Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that powerful strikes have been launched in Gaza and, of course, accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire. This is what JD Vance had to say.
The president achieved a historic peace in the Middle East. The ceasefire is holding. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be little skirmishes here and there. We know that Hamas or somebody else within Gaza attacked an IDF soldier. We expect the Israelis are going to respond. But I think the president's peace is going to hold despite it.
JD Vance is downplaying this, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Look, clearly there has been violation on the Hamas side, and Israel is within the right to respond, and they have. I don't think they've taken it beyond a measured response to what Hamas has done. I think, look, one of the major issues for the Israelis on this, on how they're breaking the ceasefire is they're not giving back the hostages. And in fact, there's now credible evidence that they're trying to even bury even more deeply the remains of the hostages because I think they don't want us to see what happened. They don't want the world to see what they did to these people. So they're not giving back these particular bodies who I think were tortured in terrible, horrible ways. In fact, the Egyptians just sent over the border bulldozing equipment to help them find it. And there's evidence that they're actually using that equipment to deeper bury these bodies.
Horrific.
So this is who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I actually am still more optimistic than pessimistic that this will hold and there will be a ceasefire. But when you're dealing with Hamas, this is to be expected.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.
Such a pleasure.